Good morning, I'm Robert Tan. From your wallet to the wider economy, join us as we follow the money. The digital economy is no longer just a part of the economy, it's quickly becoming the economy itself. From small businesses and freelancers to large corporations, success today increasingly depends on technology. But despite the opportunities, many Filipinos still struggle with slow connections, high costs, and internet dead spots. And as our ASEAN neighbors race ahead in digital transformation, is the Philippines moving fast enough? And joining us this morning is Dindo Marzan, Senior Vice President and Head of the SME Group of Converge ICT Solutions. Good morning, Dindo. Welcome to Follow the Money.
Good morning, Robert. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Now, okay, let's start with this, Dindo. The digital economy is booming. Now, but are Filipino MSMEs or individuals truly embracing digital transformation, or are many still being left behind?
I think there are two parts to this story. First of all, there's so many online businesses right now. So the digital adoption is really fast because the actual business is digital in nature. Like, for example, online selling, e-commerce. And by that, obviously, digital adoption and knowing how to run your business online is a mandate or mandatory. The other part of the story is even though digital is prevalent already in the country, there are still many MSMEs who are underserved, unconnected, mainly because they are located remotely or their business is not purely online. Some are hybrid, but they're struggling to get reliable internet connection. So in the end, a lot of MSMEs are still lagging behind. So there's the two parts of the story is basically we need to serve both types of customers. And at the end of the day, everyone should have a participation in the digital economy.
You're mentioning there's still a lot of Filipinos who want to go online, but they are underserved. Now, how hard is it to build that kind of infrastructure here in the Philippines, seeming that we want to be connected, but we have more than 7,000 islands. So how hard is it to build connectivity in those
really
areas?
A challenging task for telcos in general because we're an archipelago, obviously. So at one point, you would have to shell out money, do some capex investment to make sure that you kind of subsidize the cost to deliver those internet connectivity, or in our case, fiber plans. So at one point, for example, we were discussing earlier, like in a building, someone has to shoulder the cabling within that building if there would be SME tenants there. Some telcos would shoulder it. In our case, we do help, and especially if we see that there are so many MSMEs in that particular building or that remote area, we do kind of subsidize just to make sure no one is left behind.
But that's quite expensive to shoulder that. So there's that. Is it a win-win solution? What kind of solution do you have when you talk to the admins of the condominiums in Metro Manila and in the different regions when you're saying you're going to shoulder it? What kind of conversations do you have with them?
First of all, it's a win-win solution for us because for the tenants of that particular building, for example, they've been complaining either they don't have an internet connection or they don't have good and reliable internet connection. So at one point, complaints would be decreasing. So that's one winner.
Me included.
that's a winning situation already. The other one is for us as telco because obviously, we know, especially in Metro Manila, it's quite saturated already. It's either you're in the number one or number two telco. For us to gain more subscribers, we need to really win them back or switch them. And it's an investment from our end. But getting those customers would be our priority, regardless if it's somehow we spend a little bit. Of course, we cannot do it in all areas. We choose strategically.
It's truly expensive,
We choose strategically. And at one point, we want to prioritize those that are really underserved. That's why Converge is mostly prioritizing the provincial areas rather than the saturated metro cities.
Because we were discussing before the show, it takes a certain kind of mindset or a visionary CEO to look at this on the long term when you have to shoulder something that's very expensive to create a bigger community.
And you're right. I mean, this is basically the reason why I went back to the Philippines. Mr. Dennis Uy himself told me, like, Dindo, why don't you go home in the country, help me with nation building, and just help the MSMEs. Just help them, the profit will come after. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, this is such a good advocacy. So if we're willing to spend just to help the MSMEs, because after that, once they grow, we also grow, right?
I don't know if you're familiar with this movie called Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Is it something
yes,
like
yes,
that?
Yes, exactly. Because
Parang ganyan.
someone has to start and take the next step. But obviously, the MSMEs won't have the capacity.
Yes.
So a company like Converge can make the first step.
That's a good thing. But right now, Dindo, how important right now is reliable internet today? You've mentioned there's so many complaints that you've been hearing in different areas about slow internet. Now, has connectivity now become as essential to business and education as electricity?
It is considered as a utility. I don't know if you've seen this post already, like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and then Wi-Fi is already at the top.
It's part of that.
It's part
of Maslow na.
Exactly. But kidding aside, that's the reason why there's so many complaints, whether consumers or enterprise or MSMEs, because digital connection or digital solutions are already part of their daily productivity, their daily operation. So imagine, let's say you're running your POS that is cloud-based, running on internet, and then you suddenly don't have internet connection. How are you going to process all those payments, all those orders, right? So these internet connectivity infrastructure and facilities are very crucial in running a business. So for consumers, for example, I have my kids. My threat to them is, for example, I'm going to turn off the Wi-Fi if you don't eat right now. So that's how important it is, because they're playing games, they're studying, they're using it for e-learning. It's a utility. It's like electricity, as you said.
I've heard actually several retailers also, even food businesses, that complain about the slow internet in their area, and those who use POS and those who want to pay through online can't pay online, so they have to, reluctantly ask the customer, say, sorry, you can't pay online, it has to be cash basis. So does that create a problem?
That is a problem, because, for example, the customers' only means to pay is online or through the POS, like credit card, and that requires internet connection. If that's a dead spot, or if the merchant, in this case the MSME, doesn't have the internet connection, that transaction doesn't happen. And a transaction that failed is a failed business. There won't be any revenue. There's no transaction that would happen between the consumer and the merchant.
Now, with more companies like Converge providing this kind of service, the fast-moving technology right now, and the fast adoption of Filipinos in technology, but still, there's so many still complaining about expensive internet, slow speeds, dead spots in many areas. Why is it still happening in 2026? What needs to change?
I think two things. It all boils down to the type of internet connection that you already have. We know very well that there are two types, the fixed broadband or the wireless broadband. The wireless broadband depends on 3G, 4G, 5G, and not all areas in Metro Manila or even in the country would have high signal.
Yes.
Even though if there would be high bandwidth or signal, if there are so many people there and it's a densely populated area, you'll be sharing that bandwidth, right?
Ubus ka agad.
Ubus agad. The other one is wired broadband, which is good because usually you get a dedicated internet connection. That's why, I'm not promoting my own company, but that's why fiber...
But that's more reliable.
That's more reliable because there won't be dead spot, there won't be walls or ceilings that would be blocking the signal. So wired broadband would always be reliable, that's one. But second, about what you're saying in terms of wired broadband getting in the remote areas, that's really challenging because again, there has to be an investment under the sea. And there are also areas wherein we really cannot do anything about it. That's why we partnered with someone like Starlink so that there would be satellite broadband for remotely located areas.
Now, how is that changing now, connectivity now, na pwede na gumamit ng satellite? But as you mentioned, it's also quite expensive.
So there has to be, usually in any company, you need to build a business case, right? For example, you need to identify how many merchants, MSMEs, or consumers are going to be using that. And ideally, that cost can be shared and you study the unit economics so that it's worth our cost or our investment to put a satellite broadband
Andiyan pa rin yung fundamentals of business. What's the ROI?
Exactly. But at the same time, we get to address the underserved people there.
Now, Dindo, compared with our ASEAN neighbors, where does the Philippines stand today in terms of internet speed, affordability, and digital infrastructure?
To be honest, given I've worked with a Thai telco company already, I've seen it's kind of sad because we're kind of lagging behind in terms of infrastructure and even bandwidth speed. But I am very optimistic that we'll be able to catch up soon, given that there are companies, I mean, like Converge. Of course, I love Converge. That would be willing to invest in infrastructure like data centers, the digital infrastructure that we just invested in Angeles, Pampanga, and then making sure that we are all connected in the ASEAN region. So if I compare it, we really need visionaries and leaders in the country who really have malasakit or empathy to the country. So for example, case in point, when I was in Thailand during pandemic, our boss there, the owner of True Corporation, actually built a company that produces face masks, just to make sure there would be enough face masks for the country. It's similar to this. Like, if we know that the people in the Philippines are not yet all connected and the internet penetration is still low, someone has to kind of like have that malasakit to really help the people. Because eventually when you help the people...
Well, it takes a visionary.
Exactly. If you help the MSMEs, eventually when they grow, we grow because they're the backbone of Philippine economy. It's gonna go back either way.
Dindo, we'll still continue on that thought point of the comparison between our ASEAN neighbors, especially that you've mentioned you've also worked with a telco in Indonesia, Thailand. But before that, we'll just take a short break. We'll continue our conversation with Dindo Marzan after the break. Keep following the money. Welcome back to Follow the Money. You're still tuned into our conversation with Dindo Marzan, Senior Vice President and Head of the SME Group of Converge ICT Solutions. Now, Dindo, before the break, we were discussing about how we compare with our ASEAN peers in terms of technology. But I'd like to discuss more so we have a basis of comparison. You mentioned you've worked with a telco company in Thailand, and now you're working with another telco company here in the Philippines. How is it different? How's the landscape different from Thailand as it is here in the Philippines?
I think I'll start first with the leader, and I think you've mentioned it earlier. Both countries had visionaries, like someone who's really concerned of growing the economy or taking the country to the next level. So that's the same. But in terms of running the telco, it's also important to see the ecosystem. So we're also at par with that. Because, for example, Mr. Dennis sees telco as going beyond internet connectivity. That's why we're starting to offer non-telco solutions, especially for MSMEs and large enterprise. The same thing here in Thailand. They are also offering anything that would complete the ecosystem. So they're offering like POS. They're offering a rewards platform so that everything ties together. So whatever you do in that same ecosystem, you get points and you get rewarded with, and you get customer delight. But in terms of collaboration with competitors,
we're talking about what the competitive landscape is.
I think that's the very
difference.
Interesting part. This might be controversial, but obviously I would say what I have observed, what I see. And in Thailand, they're really cooperating with each other. Like there are no like sort of telco wars or retail wars or media wars. You're familiar with that?
Healthy competition.
It's a healthy competition. Sometimes it's co-opetition if you're familiar with that. Cooperation, but there's competition. But at the end of the day, they know that, oh, we're all in the telco industry, so let's bring it up together. I do believe in the Philippines, there's some sort of competition, and they don't hate each other naman here in the country, but it's a tough battle to be in. And sometimes you'll be right across the middle if you're unlucky, right? But it's a small world. The good thing about Thailand is they're very much into not fighting head-to-head, but rather helping each other. It's kind of similar to Singapore as well, wherein, for example, if you go the retail industry, all the malls are interconnected, right? Because they cooperate and they They want to grow the retail economy or retail industry there. So in Thailand, what I figured out is if they help each other, they really raise the economy.
Yeah, they raise the bar.
They raise the bar high, and eventually it became the norm. I do think in the Philippines, if we start working together, it's happening in fintech, by the way. And we're considered as a country who's really leading the fintech industry, and the fintech companies here are working together rather than fighting it.
But in terms of building infrastructure, how different is it? You mentioned the cooperation, collaboration in Thailand. How can we do it here in terms of, let's say, still having a healthy competition, but then building the infrastructure together? Because, again, there's 100 million Filipinos who are fast adopting to technology and need connectivity, especially today.
To be honest, we're already doing it. So in the Philippines, it's Converge who started end-to-end fiber technology for internet connection. And since we started fiber, it also came to a point that the other telcos actually rode that digital superhighway. And vice versa, because that goodwill of us having them have that right of way, in return for those areas that, for example, the other telcos have already built the infrastructure, we also ride. So it's a sort of like, I help you, you also help me. Kind
now
of
you've mentioned
relationship.
The support group within the private entities. Now, what kind of support now does the government provide in terms of helping, in terms of, again, building the infrastructure, setting policy so that, the ease of providing the service to the Filipinos?
I think it's a very important fact that we have the private and public relationships and initiatives. So, case in point, like our partnership with DTI, who's very much active in terms of enabling MSMEs, like how to make them digitally savvy, how to know how to do online selling, what are the hindrances for them to build a business. Like, syempre, ang hirap minsan yung registration ng business. Where do I start? Do I need a lawyer or something? And DTI is really helping, like, to the point of sometimes hand-holding, just to make sure our potential MSMEs can really grow their businesses. So, no one can do that alone. It has to be a partnership between someone like DTI, a private company like us, and obviously other institutions. So if we work together
on the digital process,
in the digital
but the usual complaint is of the business who want to start, or individuals who want to register their businesses. It's the first part is easy because you upload, everything's digital. The major complaint is really the middle and towards the end, when you already go to the LGUs and start getting your business registration. Hindi na siya masyadong digital. Minsan, online nang upload mo ng mga papers mo, documents, in the front end, like SEC, you have eFast in DTI, you get your registration online. But then when you go to the LGU, they tell you, print it out, register here. So, where's the disconnect? What needs to be done there? Because the first part is very good. It's very fast. It's towards the end that many complain about.
It's work in progress, and it's also part of the Philippines being an archipelago. We are a regional country, right? That's why the approach should be regional in nature. So like DTI, Converge is also present regionally. We have clustered the region so that there would be like point persons there or managed service providers to make sure everything or everyone is addressed based on the region. So we partner with the DTI regional offices there, or satellite offices, and hand in hand with the LGU there, which is basically the chief executive there, right? The mayors or the governors, they really push. Kasi at the end of the day, if the businesses there become successful, syempre, my province,
it's part of nation building,
my city would be successful, and that gives pride to whoever is leading that area or city or province.
But still much to do in that area. Now, Dindo, let's talk about AI. It's changing everything today as we see it. Now, which jobs, businesses, and industries in the Philippines are most likely to benefit, and which are most vulnerable?
I think, I know that the ones who are going to benefit in AI would be those who are digital in nature, especially in terms of their businesses. So, for example, if you're in e-commerce, online selling, the AI can do the work for you, like taking the orders or processing certain transactions. That's really something that's going to make them more productive and generate more revenues. The ones that are gonna be vulnerable would be those that have repetitive processes, especially if there are a lot of people who are doing this manually. The problem with that would be, in the end, some people might lose their job. But if the people or the employees would be really good in learning what AI is all about instead of being threatened by it, at the end of the day, every talent or employee should also do some self-learning, right? And if they, let's say, learn more about AI, at the end of the day, they won't lose a job because they will be able to run the AI themselves or make sure that whatever they do, they use AI to be more productive, to have greater results or bigger impact in the company.
So how about the BPO industry? With the advent of AI, we're seeing now a lot of businesses using chatbots, even the customer service sometimes are AI, you're not talking to a real person. How much of that is changing not just the BPO industry and the whole industry, the businesses, maybe some of their the sections of their company might just be using AI. So maybe a lot of people will be losing their jobs. You also see the BPO industry shrinking because the BPO industry here in the Philippines is it's a big money-making
and that's exactly
industry.
what I was referring to. Like, for example, there would be 100 people in the call center. Because of AI, that can be done already, whatever they're answering in terms of questions or inquiries. However, if they're aware that that's going to happen soon, they should know how to manage AI. And eventually, those jobs would be replaced by another job in terms of managing AI or using AI to address customer complaints. Because at the end of the day, human touch would always be needed. Customers hate talking to a robot, right? Or you can already say, even in the US, when we call, it speaks like a real person, but you really know it's AI, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, I would say, can you please take me to a real person? Then, okay, then he's going to say, okay. At the end of the day, there's going to be a person. And if he's really good in managing like the different tiers or escalation in call centers, that would be like a level up or upskilling as we speak.
So everybody really has to adapt quickly, or
we should,
or they will lose.
Because even our neighboring countries are already embracing AI. Instead of being threatened or afraid of AI, learn about it. AI is not just ChatGPT. There's
it's
so
like
many
a tool.
things.
It's how you use it.
It's a tool. It makes you better.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's being used. Okay, Dindo, now we will go to our next segment called the rapid fire section. Just answer yes or no. You don't need to explain your answer, okay? So let's start with this. Compared to ASEAN neighbors, is the Philippines structurally disadvantaged in the digital economy? Yes or no?
No.
No. Optimistic. Okay. Despite all the upgrades and investments, are most Filipinos still not feeling any meaningful improvement in internet speed, reliability, and affordability? Yes or no?
Yes.
Will AI create more jobs than it eliminates? Yes or no?
Yes.
Really? Okay. Can a Filipino build a successful business today using only a smartphone and internet connection? Yes or no?
Yes, I know someone.
Marami na. Okay, and finally, can the Philippines realistically become one of ASEAN's digital leaders within the next decade? Yes or no?
Yes.
We're hoping for that. Very optimistic. And finally, Dindo, how can our viewers follow the money in this fast-moving tech industry?
I think you really need to be adaptive. You need to make sure that if there are new technologies, you don't get left behind. So obviously, AI is the hottest technology right now. But it's not just famous it's because it's being talked by a lot of people. It really is useful. It's something that you can use on a daily basis, whether you're a business owner or a consumer. So learn those technologies and you'll be okay in the next decade.
It's there. We can't escape it. So might as well adapt.
Exactly.
Okay, on that note, Dindo, thank you very much for joining us this morning and your insights. And hopefully, yes, our internet becomes faster soon if everybody cooperates, as you've seen it in other countries. Healthy competition, that would work.
That should work.
And visionaries. We need visionaries.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dindo.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay, and that's all for today. I'm Robert Tan. Thanks for watching. Keep it here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel, and always follow the money. Marzan.